By 1985, every kid in Chicago with a drum machine was making house.
For a time, Chicago house just took over. You couldn't go to a club and just not hear our music, and it was a great moment.
Now it was about to take flight outside Chicago.
They didn't know how to play their instruments. Most of them weren't even musicians. They came along with the music media, with the electronic revolution. They learned how to beat out simple rhythms on the drum machines that nobody knew about. And they learned how to use sequencers when sequencers were strange toys. They were innovators, pioneers. It was just a special time.
Larry Sherman owned Chicago's only record pressing plant. As the first wave of house tracks emerged, he launched the Trax label.
If the guy brought in a tape today, I tried to have a record out within a week. That's kind of what set Trax apart, was the ability to get the materials into the marketplace. We didn't have to wait for somebody to say, well, I think this might be a good record, I might buy it. We came in and said, this is a great record and you need it. This is house. Do you like it? It's wonderful stuff.
Early releases like Adonis's No Way Back defined the emerging house sound.
Release my soul, I lost control.
But it was business skill that made Trax the dominant label.
Vinyl at that time was running about 70 cents a pound or 30 cents a record, roughly. I couldn't afford it to produce large quantities because the cash flow was terrible. So I bought large quantities of new unsold records.
Then he'd grind them up and he'd reprocess them again and make new records, which is why his records always had the pops and they weren't like very well pressed and they would warp and everything because it wasn't virgin vinyl.
And I apologize to the public on this one. The reason that some of the records were at best shoddy at sometimes was because I just ran the parts. If they would still fit in the machine and didn't come out, I was running records. Made the best record you could make for a quarter.
By now, club kids were firing the music's evolution. In late '85, a couple of music box fans spawned a new style of house by abusing a machine designed for karaoke.
Well, basically, we started using the 303 just to try to make bass lines, because when we first started making music, it sucked. So I made this rhythm, what you hear playing right now.
And it's just playing straight. He said, but I can't figure out how to work this thing. It's still doing this weird, like, sound, you know, it's like, I don't know how to program it. So he's like, he said, maybe you can figure out how to program it, because it didn't come with a book. And so I was like, instead of trying to program it, I just started turning knobs. I was like, ugh. And he's like, well, what you doing? I was like, I'll turn these knobs. He said, keep doing that. I'm like, I'm turning the knobs. And we just sitting there for like 30, 40 minutes. I'm just turning knobs and like, yeah, I like that, I like that.
There's been 5,000 acid house records after that one, and nobody did it like Pierre. Pierre did it in a musical way that followed the mood of the song. Everybody else just turned knobs, man. No, it's never been done like that.
So if anybody would be daring enough to play this, it would be Ron Hardy.
He ended up playing it 4 times that night. The first time he played it, the people didn't really know how to react to it.
He played it again. People was looking like, I guess it's early. He playing some crazy stuff.
The 4th time, they lost their mind. And that was the birth of acid right there.
Ron Hardy gave me DJ Pierre's tape.
Marshall Jefferson was the ear for Larry Sherman. Larry Sherman had no clue what was going on with the music.
You know, I said, Larry, you gotta put this out. You gotta put it out. He said, there's no words on it. I said, yeah, but you said that about Can You Feel It?
Can You Feel It brought jazz sophistication to the raw house beat. But despite a string of classics, bitterness was bubbling at Trax Records.
You get the contract, he tells you how much money he's gonna give you, and that's it. And meanwhile, this guy could be making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on your music.
All you had to do is say, this is a standard contract, and they say, oh, well, if it's a standard contract, where do I sign, you know? A lot of kids, you know, for $1,000, Larry would give them $1,000 and say, but I own everything.
If you don't have the money, you can't go get a lawyer to read the contract for you. The retainer fee alone with a lawyer is gonna kill you.
Larry's admonitions to his artists who are signing up without lawyers, he would, at least I heard him say this, and he seemed to be, you know, doing it. He seemed to be proud of the fact that he was giving them this, like, warning in advance. You know, he says, oh, look, he'd say, I want you to know that this is a business. He says, and if I can screw you, he says, I will. You know what I mean? And he meant it, you know what I mean? And not that he's any more unusual than any other record company, in my opinion, but I always admired him because he was honest enough to tell them in advance that, you know, you might be, you know, in for a real experience here.
The pioneers of house had sold their tracks to Sherman. But as record sales boomed, some felt hard done by.
I mean, what would happen is they would go there with their first record because he was only planting town.
They had reservations, but the thing of wanting to get their music out was just a little stronger, and so they're trying to do the best deal that they can do. But it just wasn't good enough, you know?
Larry's deal is a deal. It's an opportunity. Guys get to put records out. But you may not make any money. That's just the deal.
The paperwork is right. The people got paid handsomely in the early stages. It's just a general consensus in house that they're of the opinion that they sold more records than the business dictated.
Move your body.
The burning desire to dance had defiantly spawned on new music.
Move your body.
It was not without cost. Both Larry Levan and Ron Hardy were to die of drug-related illness in 1992.
Rock your body.
But their legacy is a music that has taken flight far beyond the clubs of its birth.
Your body.
Without such pioneering DJs, dance music would never have flourished. Without labels like Trax, house music may never have left Chicago. But without Marshall Jefferson, house wouldn't have Move Your Body.
You can't go wrong. Give me that house music to set me free.
Everybody said it wasn't house music when I first did it. That piano, what the hell is that doing there? You know, who you think you are, Fast Domino? Yeah, yeah. You don't put no piano on no house record. That ain't house music. So I called it the house music anthem.
And the response to the house music national anthem, Move Your Body, was just international.
I equate the record to, like, Bill Haley and the Comets, Rock Around the Clock, right? Rock and roll was before that song, but that gave everybody the name. Because right after Move Your Body came out, reporters started coming from all over the world. What's house music? What's house music? What's house music? Right? So, you know, Move Your Body said, gotta have house music all night long. With that house music, you can't go wrong. You know, give me that house music. Then it's called the house music anthem.
Sexy body, move your body.
House had a sound. It had a name. By 1986, it was ready to cross the Atlantic.
When I went to London, it was all over the radio, all the clubs. I said, this scene reminded me of Chicago.
For me, it's an amazing thing to see that another country embraces our music bigger than the country that we're from.
House music's bigger than any one person. It's bigger than all of us. And I would have to say to have a portion of its inception be my legacy. You know, I feel that that's just an honor. I'm flattered